The Prime Minister paid homage to the soldiers who fought valiantly in the Kargil war, but also he inaugurated the the Shinkunla tunnel project. He did that virtually, though it was about 500 kilometers away from the site, but he did the first blast via remote and inaugurated inaugurated the construction of that 4.1 kilometer tunnel that will connect Himachal Pradesh with Ladakh. It's an all-weather, the tunnel will provide all-weather connectivity. And the Prime Minister spoke about a lot of things. The Prime Minister, what you see on your screens, the Prime Minister reaching the Kargil War Memorial this morning, paying homage, laying a wreath at the Kargil War Memorial, paying homage to the soldiers who fought valiantly. The Prime Minister saw a film on what really transpired, went to the Lieutenant Manoj Pandey Gallery, saw where the pictures of those who had laid down their lives, made the supreme sacrifice for the nation in that war, are displayed, and also information about what really transpired there. But after that, the Prime Minister also virtually inaugurated the Shinkunla tunnel, and he's actually the construction of the tunnel. He did the first blast from the Dras War Memorial, or the Kargil War Memorial, through remote control virtually, which is about 500 kilometers away from the site. So the Prime Minister, basically said that he recalled that, when the Kargil War was happening in 1999, he was on no position. He was like a normal citizen, though he was a politician, but he wasn't occupying any office. And he says that I was amidst my soldiers as a normal citizen of India, and I would wonder how they are fighting, and I felt immensely proud when they won the war for the nation. He said, I pay homage to our soldiers. He also took on Pakistan, and he says that Pakistan was squarely defeated in that war by our valiant soldiers who slayed many of the intruders, killed many of the intruders, and pushed back many of the intruders. But he says Pakistan till date hasn't learnt anything. It still uses terrorism and proxy war as a weapon of strategic gain. So he warned Pakistan from the Kargil War Memorial, saying, I want to tell Pakistan that the country, that India will defeat its nefarious designs, and its nefarious designs will never succeed. He said, our soldiers and the nation will give a befitting reply to the enemy. He said, be that in Ladakh or in Jammu and Kashmir. Of course, he did not name China here, but this statement that we will give a befitting reply to the enemy, be it in Ladakh or J&K, does point towards that. He spoke about the abolition of Article 370. He says that it will complete 5 years this August. He says that has brought immense benefit to both the state, to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh. He said in J&K, infrastructure development has been boosted, tourism is picking up, and he says it has brought about overall development to Jammu and Kashmir. He also said, spoke about development in Ladakh. He said the Shinkunla tunnel will bring in overall development to Ladakh. Ladakh will become connected to the country in all weather, in every weather, and through the Shinkunla tunnel, which is a 4.5 kilometer long tunnel which connects. He's talking about road connectivity, though there is all year round connectivity through air, but he was talking about road connectivity via both Himachal Pradesh, and he also spoke about the 13-kilometer long Zojila tunnel, work on which is on. So he said through NH1 it will be an all-weather connectivity via Srinagar or via Jammu and Kashmir to the rest of the country. He says his government has increased allocation, budgetary allocation, financial allocation for Ladakh by 6 times, and that has led to significant improvement, according to the Prime Minister, when it comes to roads, when it comes to education, health facilities, all that has improved. He said that the Jal Jeevan Mission has brought piped water to 90% of the homes in Ladakh. He said that the 4G connectivity is also being brought in. The whole of Ladakh is being connected through 4G connectivity. And one more thing that the Prime Minister used this equation was talk about the reform in defense, and talk about self-reliance, Atmanirbharta, about defense. But he spoke at length about defending the Agniveer scheme. He took on the opposition, saying that they are politicizing it and they're playing with national security. He says his government is committed towards defense reforms, making India a defense hub, not just Atmanirbharta for our own forces, for the requirements of the Indian Armed Forces, but also making for the world. And he says making a mark as a defense producer and a defense exporter as well. So the Prime Minister was at the Kargil War Memorial. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh paid tributes to the courageous armed forces personnel who fought with exceptional bravery in the harsh conditions of Kargil in Ladakh during the war in 1999. The Defence Minister offered his tributes at the National War Memorial in Delhi. He remembered the indomitable spirit and courage of the brave soldiers who fought valiantly in the 1999 war. The Chief of Defence Staff, along with the 3 service chiefs, that's the Chief of the Indian Army, the Chief of the Indian Air Force and of the Indian Navy, along with Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan, also paid tributes to the brave hearts at the National War Memorial in the national capital this morning. And paying tributes to the Kargil war heroes, the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, said that the Kargil Vijay Diwas is an occasion to pay tributes to the courage and extraordinary valor of our country's armed forces. In a social media post, President Murmu expressed hope that all countrymen will draw inspiration from their sacrifice and valor. And my colleague Akshay Dongre joins us from New Delhi over the phone line. Akshay, you were there at the National War Memorial. It's raining in the national capital, drizzling in the national capital. But give us a sense of what the mood of the nation is as the nation remembers and pays homage to our brave hearts who fought valiantly, protected our borders got our territory back from the Pakistani intruders who had come in and taken our territory, our peaks in Kargil?
Well, absolutely, Amritpal. In fact, the kind of valor that was showed by the Indian Armed Forces, the Indian Army that in fact launched operations against the Pakistani infiltrators in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, or the Indian Air Force that coordinated with the Indian Army, carried out bombing on the location of the enemies that were capturing key locations as far as the high altitude terrain is concerned, which made it extremely difficult for the armed forces, in fact, to retaliate to this invasion of a kind that we saw in 1990. Today was the day 25 years back when India reclaimed what was rightfully of the Indians, and that was getting captured by the Pakistani infiltrators. This is 25 years of preparation, 25 years of remembrance of the soldiers. In fact, over 500 soldiers were killed in action. The exact figure is about 527 soldiers that were killed in action. 1,363 soldiers were wounded, and there was one prisoner of war as well. Flight Lieutenant K. Nachiketa, whose MiG-27 was shot down during a strike operation. So all of this, the story of Kargil is not just a story of a conflict that took place 25 years back. It is also a story of how valiantly the soldiers of the Indian Armed Forces, stood between the infiltrators and the people of India. And that is what we celebrate every year. We celebrate their valor, we celebrate their sacrifice. And in a way, the celebration instills a sense of security among the Indians that the Indian Armed Forces are always keeping a watchful eye on each and every part of the country to keep the integrity, sovereignty, and the freedom of the people safe and secure. So all the chiefs of the Indian Armed Forces paying their homage, paying their tribute to all the fallen soldiers who have sacrificed their life, not just in the Kargil war, but the consecutive wars that India has been forced upon, the wars that have been forced upon India. It was the Indian Armed Forces that have always stood in the way between these infiltrators time and again, and the safety of the country. So the celebrations are going to carry out all throughout the year. It's not just in the national capital or even in Kargil, where the celebrations are taking place, but in schools, in colleges, in workplaces, people are in fact remembering the kind of valor that was the exemplary valor that was showed by the Indian Armed Forces 25 years back. And on today's day, this was the day of 26th July, when the Indian Armed Forces, prevailed over an occupying force of not just the Pakistani jihadists, but also the Pakistani army that was in fact behind that war that had started 25 years back.
Absolutely. Actually, it's very important, more important at these places, the celebrations at, say, the Kargil War Memorial, or the chiefs, or the Raksha Mantri or the Defense Minister paying homage or laying a wreath at the National War Memorial. It's more important to, remind our children about it. A quarter of a century has passed. So the new generation perhaps doesn't even know what Kargil war was all about. They probably have a sketchy idea that it was some war which was fought between India and Pakistan. In fact, before I came into the studio, I was talking to some of our younger colleagues in the newsroom. They said they just broadly know that it was a war between India and Pakistan, and now as they are working on making the packages on the Kargil, they're getting to know the nitty-gritties of it. But what is your sense that when you as a defense correspondent go out, or even a regular citizen of the country go out in the country, does the valor of the soldiers and the valor which was on display 25 years ago in this war which was thrust upon India by Pakistan, does it resonate with the citizenry of this country?
Well, it does, Amritpal. In fact, it does resonate. However, we have to remind the younger generation, as you rightly pointed out, India is one of the world's youngest country. a huge chunk of population is below 25 years. So we have to keep in mind that these are the people who have not seen it live, who have not been through that hard phase that the country was in 1999 when this war was thrust upon India. And we have to remind the people that what are we fighting for. Sure, when it comes to the armed forces, when it comes to the volunteers, when it comes to the medical personnel who are all giving their services during this difficult phase. In fact, this was a stab in the back in 1999, and how the Indian armed forces fighting in that difficult terrain where the enemy was occupying higher positions, they had advantage over the Indian armed forces, what they had to endure and overcome to fight for the sovereignty of the country.
Absolutely. Akshay, I remember I was back in first year of college at that time, and I was very interested in what was beamed on our television screens. The National Highway 1 was, they were overlooking the National Highway. Had they cut off that highway, we would have just lost all contact, the road connectivity with Ladakh, and that would have been so for our armed forces to fight and reclaim their heights when the enemy was sitting at higher heights. So we unleashed our soldiers right to roll up to the or climb up the hills when they had advantage of just shooting down, and
absolutely.
So it was quite a war.
Absolutely. In fact, for the Indian Armed Forces, it was quite a surprise when the Indian Armed Forces got to know that the enemy has entered and is occupying positions, has made bunkers in the area, and is shooting down and trying to cut off the crucial highways of now the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And in fact, in that entire region, this was a nefarious design that was pre-planned, that was executed, with the highest authority, by the highest authorities in Pakistan. So this was no act of terrorist. The soldiers that were killed, of the Pakistani army, they in fact refused to take even the bodies of those soldiers, not even claiming back their fallen soldiers. So this is what India is fighting against, or has been fighting against since its independence. India is now a 75-year-old country as far as the independence is concerned, and since 1947 we have been seeing continuous wars. We have been seeing consistent efforts to destabilize the country through one way or another. It's not just Pakistan as well. There are larger players that have been at play as far as this entire war was concerned. This was a pre-planned war, and that is what the advantage was for the Pakistani soldiers that were occupying these heights, not just in the Kargil, but in Dras, in Batalik, in different sectors of Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, as far as these wars are concerned, despite the efforts that were being made by the highest of the government of India to establish trade, to establish better ties, this was in fact a stab in the back by the Pakistani military establishment that India suffered, in fact, and that is why India had to unleash several 100,000 soldiers in that particular region to overcome this particular design that was made to destabilize the region and cut off some of the most crucial territories. That was quite of geostrategic importance in 1999. And had it not been for the valor of the Indian Armed Forces, India would have suffered massive setbacks as far as the region is concerned, given the fact that Pakistan tried its level best to bring a ceasefire, to in fact to occupy those positions that it had done, by deceiving Indian armed forces in that region.
Absolutely. And Akshay, today stay on the line. The Prime Minister today said that he was, as a normal citizen of the country, in the midst of our soldiers. These pictures that we are playing on your screen, Narendra Modi in 1999 had gone right up to Kargil. He saw, he was of course a political activist of the BJP, a political worker of the BJP. So he had gone up, he had interacted with the soldiers, he was in midst of them. The Prime Minister recalled that how he was in the midst of the soldiers, during that war, during that 1990 war. He went 1999 Kargil war. So these images that we are beaming on your screens are from that time. The Prime Minister visited many of our injured soldiers in the military hospitals where they were admitted. Okay, Akshay, coming back to you, Akshay Dongre, our defense correspondent, who is on the phone line with us. Akshay, today the Prime Minister also referred, he said that, despite Pakistan being defeated and its nefarious designs being exposed to the world, but it doesn't seem to learn any lessons. It still uses terrorism as an instrument of state policy. It still engages in proxy war. We know what happened in in the recent days in Jammu and Kashmir, where our soldiers were attacked. Some of them lost their lives. This war happened in 1999, but they didn't stop. The parliament attack, remember, happened after that. Uri happened after that. Pulwama happened after that. The post-abrogation of Mumbai 2008, 26/11 happened after that. In 2024 alone, if we talk, 12 soldiers have made the supreme sacrifice in Jammu division. So Pakistan continues this low intensity battle, though it hasn't done anything as audacious as Kargil. That's due to a variety of reasons. So have we learnt our lessons as a country, as a military, about the lessons from the Kargil war?
Well, I believe that we have learned some lessons. Some are yet to be learned. In fact, as far as certain sections of our country is concerned, it has to, the entire country as a whole unit has to understand that it's not just, the conventional warfare that Pakistan has been launching against India. And, as we mentioned, a different kind of attacks that have taken place in India, be it 2008 Mumbai terror attack, the 26/11 attack, the Uri attack, Pathankot, there was attack in Pulwama in 2019, and in fact, in the past, if you look at the past month, there have been several attacks where the terrorists have not distinguished between the armed personnel and the local population of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. They have been trying to bulldoze their way in. They have been trying to, in fact, threaten the local population, that if they do not cooperate with them, they will be also on target. So we have seen that young officers from young, youth of Jammu and Kashmir that has participated in the mainstream, that has joined the Indian Armed Forces. They have also, on many occasions, been brutally murdered. And in fact, one such example is Lieutenant Umar Fayaz, who was killed at his home. So there are several such examples, and India as a country is in a very unfortunate state. India is one of the fastest rising economy. It is making huge strides, be it the space sector, be it technology, be it manufacturing. But at the same time, India is in a position where it has to continuously also battle not just poverty, but terrorism that is being consistently launched from Pakistan. And the sole reason that it is happening is also because the Pakistani establishment have also been trying to divert the attention from their domestic issues, from their domestic problems towards India, saying that there is a war that's taking place. So Pakistan has been in a consistent state of mind of war. A consistent state of war with India, be it through conventional warfare, be it through unconventional warfare. So it has been a very difficult situation for India, and that is why the celebration of Kargil war became extremely important. To remind the population that what India has endured, what it continues to endure, and if not vigilant, what it can suffer. That it had suffered in 1999. And I think one last point, Amrit, is what I feel, that Pakistan suffered a massive setback in 1999, where it realized that through conventional warfare it is not able to do anything or rather achieve anything. In fact, it realized the superiority of the Indian armed forces in every domain. So that is why it seems that now not just attacking military establishment is on the cards, but also through destabilizing the region by terror funding, by infiltrations. So all of this is happening while India tries to remain on the path of growth and development. It also has to be in this consistent war against terror that is emanating right from its western borders, from Pakistan throughout the year.
One of the lessons that the Kargil Review Committee, Akshay, had said that India needs to continually review and plug the gaps being exploited by Pakistan. If we essentially look at Kargil, what was Kargil? It was basically Pakistan, an enemy who is perpetually looking for gaps in India's preparedness and is striking concurrently. But this needs constant review. As you said, conventional war, they haven't got much, so they go in for low intensity war. Sometimes they turn on the tap, sometimes the tap is turned off. But then there are newer fronts on which the war is being fought, say cyber attacks. So it is. There is a constant need of reviewing and upgrading and reassessing the threat. Do you, as somebody who covers the beat, see that happening, that the Indian security establishment consistently upgrades itself given the evolving nature of threats, even while the enemy remains constant?
Well, there are certain lessons that the Indian military establishment has also learned, over the past 25 years, and learning from others' mistakes as well. In fact, learning from the conflicts, the open conflicts that are taking place, in different parts of the world over the past 25 years. India has, started its own path towards modernization and, not just in terms of ammunition or guns or machine guns or tanks or fighter aircraft, but also in other domains, be it the space domain, be it the cyber domain. It is trying to modernize its equipment to ensure that there is no breach, there is no possibility of a breach by the terrorist elements. Second thing is as far as Atmanirbharta is concerned, self-reliance is concerned, India has also been consistently trying to ensure that it can meet its security requirements without depending on a third party. Because in many conflicts, for example, in 1971, we saw how larger powers that had industrial might, involved themselves into the 1971 war of Bangladesh's liberation, and how democratic countries like the United States of America or the United Kingdom also sided with Pakistan, a country that was committing heinous atrocities on the population of Bangladesh, which was East Pakistan back then. There was ethnic violence take place, yet India has struggled to get support from countries, democratic countries like the US and the UK and other countries in the West as well. When it was the Soviet Union that came to aid of India. So that on that front as well, when it comes to strategic affairs, when it comes to diplomacy, India has been vocally stating that Pakistan is a harbor of terrorism. Pakistan has been doing terror funding, has been launching terrorists not just in India but in other nations as well. That point is also being taken, and that has also put international pressure on countries like Pakistan, where FATF and other organizations have also put Pakistan in grey list on multiple occasions. So yes, there has been a multifaceted approach that has been taken by the government of India to combat this disease, this mania of terrorism.
So, today the Prime Minister, while he was, speaking at the Kargil War Memorial after paying homage to our soldiers, to our fallen heroes and all those who, were injured and who fought the war there in 1999, he said one thing I found very telling, and I want you to, give your assessment. He said, while he directly named Pakistan, he didn't name China, but the one statement was telling, he said, we will reply to the enemy, be it in Ladakh or in J&K. Ladakh, currently the enemy is not Pakistan. How do you read it?
Well, yes, absolutely. The safety and integrity of the country is foremost priority for the government of India. And, diplomacy may come second, absolutely, because when it comes to integrity and sovereignty of the country, there can be no compromises. And that is why perhaps, when it comes to Pakistan or be it other aggressors, India is going to name them and shame them as far as, these efforts of destabilizing regions are concerned. It has, while China has not been named openly by the government of India, the world is watching how China has in fact vetoed several attempts by India to blacklist or rather to announce terrorists that are living in Pakistan as global terrorists, to put sanctions on those terrorists. And those, it's not a very difficult or it's not a rocket science to understand that the world needs to blacklist global terrorists who are launching attacks against other countries, who are trying to destabilize other countries, and also damaging their own people, and the reputation of their own countries while they are doing so. Vetoing or rather stopping the world from blacklisting is also being complicit in that particular act of any sort of terroristic incidents that are happening all across the region. So it seems that there is a clear message that it's be it Jammu and Kashmir, be it Ladakh, be it Arunachal Pradesh, be it any part of the country, when it comes to securing the borders, the Indian Armed Forces are not going to not going to see Pakistanis and other aggressors through different lenses. They are not going to distinguish among these enemies and are going to fight all of them the same when it comes to securing the borders of the nation.
All right. Akshay, stay on the line. Let's look at what the Prime Minister said. While he paid tributes to the Kargil war heroes on the 25th anniversary of the Kargil Vijay Diwas, the Prime Minister was paying tributes, and this is what he had to say.
कारगिल विजय दिवस हमें बताता है कि राष्ट्र के लिए दिए गए बलिदान अमर होते हैं। दिन, महीने, वर्ष, सदियां गुजरते हैं, सर्दियां भी गुजरती हैं, मौसम भी बदलते हैं, लेकिन राष्ट्र की रक्षा के लिए अपनी जान की बाजी लगाने वालों के नाम अमिट रहते हैं। ये देश हमारी सेना के पराक्रमी महानायकों का सदा सर्वदा ऋणी है। ये देश उनके प्रति कृतज्ञ है।
And my colleague Vishal Baristo is in Kargil today. He spoke to the daughter of a brave Indian soldier, Nimbu Saab, also known as Naikeza Kuo Keng Uruse. He's remembered for his extraordinary bravery, how he served, embodying the true spirit of a soldier. His sacrifice has left an indelible mark on the family, on the community, inspiring countless others with his story of valor. Take a look.
Now, this is the story of a Naga officer who was the only army man amongst 12 siblings. Yes, I'm talking about Captain Nikezaku Kengruze, who was awarded Mahavir Chakra for his heroism. I have with me his sister and find out how's the feeling, what is the feeling as the nation celebrates 25 years of that victory.
Yes, today is 25th anniversary of Kargil Vijay Diwas Day. He was 25 when he laid down his life for the motherland. Today we're reminded again of his sacrifice, the valor that he had laid in the hills of Kargil.
There's a very interesting book written by Major Dwivedi's daughters, Nimbu Saab. Why is he called the barefoot Naga hero?
Yes. In the icy hills of the Kargil terrain, so when he was climbing up to capture the enemy bunkers, So because of the icy steep, his boots kept slipping in the hills. In order to climb up so that he can secure a safe spot for his partymen and to secure the bunker, he removed his boots and he was able to climb up and do the impossible task that was assigned to him. That is why he is famously known as the barefoot Naga warrior.
Nimbu Saab, as he was fondly called, Captain Kangaroo Se, made the impossible possible and laid down his life for the motherland. With cameraman Aniket Dubey in Kargil, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
And as the country celebrates the anniversary of Vijay Diwas, father of Kargil war hero, Captain Vikram Batra, GL Batra, paid tributes to soldiers who lost their lives in the 1999 war at the headquarters of the Western Command in this is in Chandi Mandir, right next to Chandigarh, where GL Batra now lives. And during the war, as we were telling you earlier, Doordarshan not only stood on the line of fire but did live coverage of this war. It also demolished Pakistan's propaganda and presented the Indian side strongly with evidence to the world. Watch this special report.
When we look back at the Kargil operation after 25 years, we can easily see that the conflict was first of all a reflection of the highest standards of the Indian Army, especially in a mountain warfare. The Kargil operation had once again proved that Indian soldiers can rise to any occasion against all odds. In June 1999, this operation also showed how Pakistan's psychological offensives had failed in the face of Indian Army's quick and daring counterattacks in what turned out to be an interdiction warfare instead of a regular all-out maneuver war. When Pakistan carried out a simultaneous media campaign about its so-called advantage from the mountain heights, Doordarshan News filed the first exclusive visual dispatches from the direct line of enemy fire and exposed Pakistani maneuvers to the world. Doordarshan News was the first to show features like the Tiger Hill, Peak of Tololing and Point 5410 along with trajectories of artillery fire from across enemy lines.
When the operation started, so the world press got to know about it, everybody got to know about it, and the Pakistani launched a psychological offensive like it happened in 1962. And so the nation was under some kind of a pressure, the political establishment ought to be under pressure then, and that is the kind of advantage that the Pakistanis thought they would get away with. We started filming in the direct line of enemy fire. So what came out of that? What came out of that was that it was proved visually with television evidence that it was interdiction warfare. It was not maneuver warfare. Actually, to reach Tiger Hill, the peak of Tiger Hill, one would have to cross so many hills, hills, and then the peak. So we explained why, despite the advantage of aerial dominance, we would physically, the Indian Army would have to, the infantry, with artillery support, with air support, would have to physically go up and capture the peak and hoist the tricolor. And that's when the all-round military ability of the Indian soldier counts.
This also brought the first televised evidence that the Indian forces were actually inching forward in what had to be time-consuming interdiction operation to save human lives in Kargil sector. Bureau Report, DD India.
And my colleague Akshay Dongre is still with us. He's joining us from New Delhi. Akshay, Rudranath Sanyal, our old colleague who covered the war, now he's retired, of course, doesn't work with us anymore. He covered the war then. He was talking about that the role Doordarshan played, because Doordarshan was one of the, few television channels around at that time. And though there were some new private channels that had come in, but Doordarshan was still the country's channel with the widest coverage. He spoke about PSYOPs. Now in the world that we are living in a very changed world, where they don't need PTV alone, they have all kind of handles on all kind of social media sites, Twitter, this, that, handles not just operating from Pakistan, but anywhere in the world. Today, PSYOPs or psychological operations assume a totally different dimension. How is the Army's information warfare, IW, prepared to deal with that?
Well, absolutely. In fact, this is a very important point that many people, when it comes to strategic affairs, tend to overlook as well. Given the fact that it's not just the tanks or the fighter aircraft or the guns that are now winning the battle. It's more than that. It's much more than that. In fact, since 1999 to 2024,
the keyboard warriors are as dangerous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, biggest threat right now to countries is not an infiltration, but infiltration of fake news, of wrong information, of information that may create rift in the society, that may, spread terror among the public through false information and through, information warfare. And that is what the Indian government has been battling and has ramped up this battle since the last 10 years especially. Amritpal, in fact, when we look at the IW, IW division of the Indian Army, we have seen that young boys, from their colleges are being hired for specific purposes in the Indian Army as well. With an aim to ensure that the cyber security of the Indian Armed Forces remain safe. In fact. It's not just the weapons that are getting modernized. It's also the cyber equipment that is being modernized. It's encrypted information is the mode of communication nowadays. There is nothing that is unsafe when it comes to communication lines, so that there should be no breach of the sensitive information that the army communicates, or rather uses on a day-to-day basis. So all of these aspects have in fact gone through rapid transformation as well. It's not just the Indian Army. In fact, the Indian Navy has its own server, the Indian Air Force has its own dedicated server, and the Indian Army obviously has its own wing of communication, which helps it keeping the communication lines safe, because it has widened to such an extent that it's not just through spread of word that incidents are taking place where terror is being spread. It is through social media. So somebody who is sitting inside Pakistan might as well spread false information, dangerous information into India without even needing to cross the border.
True.
And that is what the Indian Army or the Indian Armed Forces in fact are battling as well. So the dimensions or the layers in security have multiplied, and at every level the Indian Army has to be vigilant, because as it has been repeated by the armed forces, that the terrorists have only need to succeed once, and only need to win once, whereas the people who are securing us, they have to win every day, they have to succeed every day as far as the security efforts are concerned. And that is a very crucial point when it comes to information warfare and cyber warfare as well, coming into India, not through conventional methods but through unconventional methods as well.
Akshay, we leave it there. Many thanks for joining us and giving us your perspective on that and updates on that. Let's go over to my colleague Vishal Baristo, who's now joining us from Kargil. He is at the Kargil War Memorial. Vishal, are you with us? Okay. I can hear Vishal's voice. Vishal, I understand you have some family members of the next of kin or the next of kin of our martyrs with you, of our soldiers who fought valiantly with you. What was the mood today at the Kargil War Memorial, which is a testimony to the victory that India secured, a hard-fought victory that India secured through our brave hearts, 527 of them who laid down their lives fighting for the country, protecting the motherland, ensuring its sovereignty is intact. Vishal, are you with us?
Hello.
Vishal, can you hear me? Are you with us? Okay, Vishal Baristo, my colleague who is right now at the Kargil.
Introduce our guest to you. On my right are the two daughters of Major C.B. Dwivedi, who laid down his life in the Kargil war. And on my left is the sister of Captain Kangruse, the Mahavir Chakra, who also is a martyr from Kargil. And he is the only officer, Naga officer from his family of 14 siblings. Now, because there is a network issue and the audio is a problem here, so let me first go to our guest and let me tell you that the daughters of Major C.B. Dwivedi, they have written 3 books on the Kargil martyrs, and the 3rd book is on the Naga officer, and his name is Nimbu Saab. So Nimbu Saab, because his name was quite difficult to pronounce, and he was his pet name was Nimbu. So first, let's talk to the writers of this book. So what inspired you to write books? This is your 3rd book. I have Diksha, the younger daughter of Major C.B. Dwivedi.
So it's actually the 3rd book between us on the Kargil war. This is my 2nd book. My first book was on letters from Kargil. And in that book, I had actually included some of Nimbu's letters. And I always found his story fascinating, right? His story was very different from all the other war heroes that we hear. And luckily, we met his brother, Atuli. We call him affectionately with that name, who's the narrator of the book. And he, I was keeping my fingers crossed when I met him in Kargil, actually, and I told him that he told me that I also want to write a book, and I was like, sir, can I get this opportunity? Because there are so many stories from the Kargil war, and I figured that through the years, and especially while writing my first book, that go unnoticed, that go untold, and hopefully we can get there and we can tell those stories.
Well, absolutely. Neha, the elder sister, is it also, a kind of what your father wanted that you should carry on, because it's a very difficult time, 25th anniversary, you must be missing your father today.
Definitely missing our father today. I think one thought that often comes to us when we come here for these celebrations is like we wish he was here today to see what him and all of his brothers in arms have achieved here. Because of people like him, we are standing here today and being able to even record this. Having said that, I don't know if my father thought I should be a writer or not, but he wanted me to be a doctor, so I became a doctor by profession. But I hope he'd be proud of the fact that both me and my sister have been able to tell some of the stories from the war. We hope to tell more, and we hope to make them more human for people reading these stories and wanting to know more about their real-life heroes.
Well, absolutely. Now, this is the book that we are talking about, Nimbu Saab, and I have the sister of the brave captain, the Naga officer, and the book says that the barefoot Naga Kargil hero. Now, why barefoot? Let's talk to the lady. Why barefoot?
Yes, he fought in the difficult terrains of the Kargil war, which was very steep, and there were icy slopes. So he was not able to get a good grip of the rocky mountain. That is why he had to remove his boots and then go up and secure a place for his fellow men, so that the enemy bunkers, the position could be captured. So that is why he had to remove his boots, and barefooted he went in the minus degrees of Kargil. He went and fought against the enemies.
Well, definitely, and he was awarded Mahavir Chakra posthumously, and today we are celebrating the 25th anniversary. Today you heard the Prime Minister saluting all the heroes and martyrs. So what kind of feeling is there, because he was the only army personnel from your family?
Yes, he was the eldest brother that during that time when he had died, and he was the only officer in the family. So the parents had high hopes on him that he will be able to come back and then help his family out, because we are a big family. So financial help was required, stability was required. So we were hoping that since he had become an officer, he will come back to the family and help us. So we had great hope in him, but God has other plans for his life, that is to sacrifice his life for motherland, which is a greater cause. So we have lost a brother, we have lost a family. The loss is irreplaceable, but the things that he has done, it cannot be defined. I cannot express my emotions. This is the first time for me here in the Dras sector, looking at the hills that are surrounded in which the difficult war was fought. I'm very overwhelmed. I cannot express my emotions of sadness, as well as the joy, the pride, looking at the achievement, the victory that Indian Army was able to make at this point of time, which is a historic war.
Well, absolutely, a historic war. It was the mother of all battles, and that is the feeling here, a mixed feeling. They are missing their father, she's missing her brother, and we are also missing the martyrs. But yes, because of their bravery and heroic deeds, we are celebrating this 25th anniversary. Back to studios.
Absolutely, Vishal. As the young lady said, there is pride, there is joy as we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Kargil Diwas. But there is also this overwhelming feeling that your sacrifice will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.